What's up, everyone? My name is Kevin Lagore, and welcome to the What's Up Webcast. This is a webcast we do every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here at the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. We cover everything that has to do with the nighttime sky, to what's up, what we can observe, to helpful tips and tricks for your observing and imaging outings. And of course, we also have a special guest on everyone at the end of each month. So it's the end of the month, so we have a special guest, actually two, here today with us. First off, if you've ever joined us before, happy Friday. We're glad to have you back. If you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. If you like what we do here, go ahead and subscribe to the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel. If there's a topic that you'd ever like us to cover, maybe we didn't catch something for you, or you want us to look into doing a topic, an episode on a particular topic, go ahead and email us at support@skywatcherusa.com and just title it What's Up. So today we're having some good friends of ours from Losmandy Astronomical. Here we have Tanya Kennelly and Brian Valente are with us today. If you watched last week, you might know we were supposed to have Alan Hale from Celestron. There was a schedule issue on Alan's end, so we hope to have him on in the future, but we still have Losmandy here. They're awesome, good friends of ours, so we're really happy that they were able to join us on such a last-minute scheduling. So I'm going to bring them on today. At the end of the episode, if you have any questions for them, we'll leave the Q&A to the end of the episode, so just hold your questions till then. But let's get started. I'm going to bring them on here. And the computer wants to listen to me. There we go. So let me open these guys up. So, hello. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi, Kevin. Great. Happy Friday.
Yeah, it's nice to see you guys face to face rather than like over the phone or something like that. It's been a while. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we used to see each other a few times a year. Especially if AIC was happening, and then
right.
So, but next year.
Yeah. So thanks for I know this was like a last minute thing, but thanks for stepping in and being here with us this Friday. I know it was kind of an unexpected thing, but so I usually start these episodes off the same question with everybody, and there's two of you this morning, so this will make it'll be fun to hear this because I know you both come from different backgrounds, but how did you guys get to the astronomy industry and working for Losmandy at this point?
Ladies first.
Yeah, and you know what? I can cut to this, and you just want to talk into that camera.
Okay. Sorry,
this is the first time we're using the virtual studio, so we can do camera switching and stuff like that. But just go ahead.
Okay. So I got a job at OPT, Oceanside Photo and Telescope. I'm sure everybody knows them. They're an authorized dealer of both of our companies. They're great, very well known in the industry. I was working with Craig Weatherwax, who started OPT, and then I was there, I want to say 9 years, I think. And that's how I got to meet you, Kevin.
Yep.
And then I started working a lot more closely with Scott and everything. And so Scott asked me to come along on board here. So I did that about 5 years ago. Yeah, it's been great. I like working in the manufacturing field. It's a lot different than the retail space.
Yeah, I worked at Woodland Hills before coming to Skywatcher, and I think it's really good to have that perspective of working at a retail place, but it's a very different experience.
Yes, I think I remember you working at Woodland Hills.
You worked at Woodland Hills Telescope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't know that.
The more you know.
For a long time. I bought my first stuff.
Yeah, I know that place is close to us up here. Burbank. So that's my story. Not too great of a story, but now I'm here with Scott, and Scott's great to work for, making great products and always trying to make them better for the astronomy industry. Yeah. So it's been fun, a lot of fun. I think I'm looking down at the computer, but
you are looking down.
I know. I'm sorry, everybody.
But this is where it's okay.
There's a lot going on in the studio. So.
I'm looking at Kevin on the computer so I can talk to him, but I really should be looking up at the cameras.
It's okay.
So.
It's all right.
And then Brian, you have, I'm sorry, Tanya, if you were still going on that. I know Brian comes from a different.
Yeah, his is a lot different.
Yes, I'm a lot less interesting. No, but I was, well, Kevin, it's interesting you mentioned that because I was involved in, well, I started astronomy probably 12 years ago, and bought my first stuff from Woodland Hills Telescope. And I think like a lot of people, I just had a horrible time for like 2 or 3 years, and I, quit it, and then I came back, and I quit it and came back. And somewhere, I want to say probably like 5-6 years ago, maybe, there was a product that came out called Polemaster that like literally saved me from just completely canning this whole effort. And from there, I was close by to Losmandy, and I had managed to screw up my mount a couple times and brought it in. And Scott was really nice. Then he asked me to test some things, and I did. And then we sort of got chatting. And I said, hey, it seems like you guys could really maybe use some help. And one thing led to another, and kind of here we are.
Yeah,
type of thing. So
it's been great. I love having him here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have like about, 12 years of, I consider myself first an astro imager, and then kind of secondarily a Losmandy person. Well, I mean, I guess sort of 50-50, but that whole perspective, Kevin, as when you have experience using the gear every day and, thinking about it and trying to solve problems, which is always the challenge, it's forever problem solving. You have a lot more appreciation for what people are going through, and you have a lot more appreciation for what it takes to really, kind of get it to the place you want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to over the phone where it's like, you're not an astrophotographer until you've yelled at your system a couple nights in a row. And,
couple nights, man.
Yeah, at least, you earn your stripes that way. So
that's right.
Totally get it from being
there should
an
be
actual
belt colors for astro imagers, like the karate and stuff.
Yeah,
you have a certain level of belt.
Learn to polar align, learn to plate solve, learn to whatever.
Exactly. Yes, you get like a patch, like a brownie patch or something that you can put on your stash. Plate solving.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yes, and then you wear your satch, and it's like you wear it in pride. I like that idea. Let's start the patching.
There we go. And I actually, my moderators who are in the chat right here actually bring up a good comment. For those of you who don't know, Losmandy is actually owned by Scott Losmandy. So I know he's floating around usually there. But just if you're aware of that. So
I might be able to get him on. I think I will.
We'll try to bait him later. So.
Yes.
We asked him nicely, and we're going to threaten him later. So
yeah. Sasquatch, unicorns, Scott Losmandy.
Right. Yes. So if you have any questions for him, he'll put you on towards the end, I think, which will be fun.
Yeah. Jeff, my boss and moderator right now, is saying we should call them Astro Sashes. So.
Astro Stashes?
Astro Sashes. Your idea of the.
I think it's gonna catch on. I'm leaving Losmandy to make Astro patches for the Astro patches.
Yeah, but just so you know, the brownies were like that's the girl thing, and then there's Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts and Weeblos, right? So
like the eagle, yeah.
You'd have to do like one of each, like a brownie patch, and then the
eagle, the Cub Scouts,
the Boy Scouts,
Boy Scouts or whatever. Yeah, I'll just make up my own scout. Astro Scouts.
Good. You should run for government. That's perfect.
Oh gosh.
So, I know Tanya's been working at Losmandy for, well, you both have, but you've been there a little bit longer. You know the history of Losmandy a little bit, because I know it actually used to be in Hollywood in a very big machining area, and then you guys moved. So.
Right. Yeah. He was in Hollywood. That's where he started. It was just a Hollywood general machining. It was just a machine shop.
Literally in Hollywood.
Right.
Hollywood proper.
And and that was 40 years ago. This is our 40th year anniversary. So good job, Scott. Somebody challenged him. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the history. Somebody challenged him to make his own telescope, and he did. And that's how it all started. I want to say, was it the HGM 200? Was that, or 100?
It was one of those. Yeah.
One of those mounts was the first one. He made a few of each or whatever. And then mentioning Alan Hale's Celestron contracted with him to make mounts for Celestron, and that's kind of what put him on the map. And then Celestron went off on their own. Scott went off on their own, on his own, and here we are today.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then we also have the production, and that was another challenge that somebody asked him. A producer asked him if he would. He says, it's this thing in the movie industry, and you're on a dolly.
Right. So when you say production, you mean the movie production,
film industry. You can get seasick on these things called sleds. They call it seasickness because you have to move it back and forth to get the flat spots out. So when you're doing, when you're filming and you're going through the rails, you don't get these flat spots and bumps. And somebody asked him if he could figure something out, and he did, and came up with the Portaglides, which is the name of the Portagive division as our movie set division. Came out with that, and those are huge success on so many movie sets. So
yeah, and that's what's kind of cool about, I know I've had a couple G11s and stuff. If you flip the mount over, it actually says Hollywood General Machining, or it used to. I don't know if the current production still saying, but yeah, if you guys aren't aware, that's the full name of it. And yeah, you guys do a lot of work in the Hollywood area with the Portagibs, because I know you've been on several productions. And if they follow you on Facebook, sometimes I know you post about where they do pop up in the movie industry.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we on a lot of TV shows. I know we've done a bunch of the Mission Impossible, Girl on the Train. There's a lot of movies. It just goes on and on. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. It's fun to have both. It's like I try to figure out what hat I'm going to be wearing that hour. If I'm going to be doing film stuff, or if I'm going to be doing astro photography stuff. So it's kind of fun. Mixes it up a little bit.
But I just want to say because we get asked this question sometimes, like, which side of the business is big, kind of what takes up most of our time. And I would say far and away, Losmandy Astronomical is just it takes, God, I don't know what the number is, but like 90% of our time. It's just a really crazy number.
Well, it's so much. I feel like it's a lot more involved. The Portaglides are just a couple of parts. Our mount is 96 parts that we machine in-house. So it's a lot involved. So.
And that actually brings up a good topic. So I'm, Skywatcher, we're a mass-produced company. I know you guys do mass production, but you're one of the few companies that are still based here in the US that machines all of it. So that's kind of a cool thing that if you guys weren't aware. And then your mounts are actually really interesting. I mean, they haven't changed much over the history of the company, but I know some of them, you've added things to them where, like maybe Brian, I know you deal a lot with the technical stuff, but you guys have, the motors are spring loaded now and they crack on the right ascension to where you can pull them apart for transport and stuff. Right. But are you able to kind of tell us a little bit about how the mounts have evolved to, especially with today's modern day imager, you guys have added a lot of features for that.
Yeah. So, as you pointed out, it's completely made in the USA. The shop itself is kind of in two parts. There's the area in front where sort of the offices are and the podcast studio where Tanya works and things like that. And then there's the back, which is literally just filled with machines and people running machines. Yes. I feel like it's 24/7, but I mean, it's like all the time. I wish, yeah. I'm surprised I don't hear them right now. I think we got pretty good mics.
Yeah.
But, so we do it all here, right? And we do it all in the US. And if we need more parts, we just sort of go back there and say, we need to make more parts. The basic design, I think, is largely unchanged.
Correct.
Since even the Celestron days, which is interesting because we literally get people in who have like a 1995, 2000 mount, and we can actually upgrade them to the latest version of the mount with all the accessories and things. So that's something that's a little bit unusual for us because we have control over all of those pieces. We can figure out how to sort of keep people's mounts current without doing the just complete replace.
Right. Yes. You don't have to completely replace your mount.
But, aside from that, we have over the years added a number of features that are really kind of specific to astro imaging. So we started with the one piece worm block and the precision brass worm that just makes the RA tracking better. We added the tucked in motors, which was a very important kind of accessory. And I personally suffer from this because I smashed many. That's actually
and that's why, that's the main reason why Scott wanted to do the tucked motors, because of things. Like
because things, things flop over and then the motors get smashed. But it actually gives you additional tracking time past the meridian, which I found to be quite handy. Because the meridian, of course, is the sweet spot of the sky where we want to really maximize our time. And then we added, and I was sort of involved in the testing of the spring-loaded worms that allow us to not worry about biasing the counterweight and so forth. And it's really just kind of all come together as a really nice system that's get some very, very solid performance. And I would say, I don't know what the number is, Tanya, but I would say probably 80 or 90% of the people who use our mounts, or at least buy them today, buy them for astro imaging.
I would think so too. Yeah. We used to have the older version, the stepper motor version, which you can still do astrophotography with, but you didn't have the ability to hook it up to computers and all that stuff.
Couldn't do a go-to. It's
right. And the go-to. So it's pretty much this. We don't even sell the standard anymore because we just didn't invest in it any longer. But so now we're just doing the go-to, and because the demand for the other version just wasn't there any longer.
We're in the same boat. We get people every now and again. We'll have someone ask, it's like, I don't want an equatorial with go-to on it. And the reality of it is, when you're running companies like ours and Losmandy, you kind of got to go with where the main trend is. And it's hard to accommodate older hardware, but it's only going to sell here and there, because if it's not going to sell great, it's just sitting collecting dust, and
exactly
it's not moving and keeping the company going. So I'm sure you guys get it like we do every now and again. It's like, why don't you have this anymore? It's like, well, it just doesn't make sense for us to stock it anymore. So,
well, that's good to know that that we're both kind of in the same boat. Yeah. But yeah, with all the technology and everything today, Scott's been really focusing just on the astro imaging side of it, everything with Brian. So, because Brian lives and breathes astro imaging, I feel like, because you've got your observatory down in Chile also that you have.
Yes, true.
And you get some amazing images and just do a lot of work down there. So
yeah, so I think, Kevin, like you, right? I'm not just I just don't only own Losmandy stuff, and of course you probably don't just own Skywatcher things, but I have we have a remote observatory, or my partner and I have a remote observatory in Chile. It's on an astrophysics mount. It's a big. We're just installing a 20-inch plane wave down there. And, it's a completely different experience. And you learn a lot from them. But I will tell you, all the stuff that I learned doing astro imaging in my driveway was essential to figuring out how to make these other ones work. And I think that's probably true for you too as well, right?
Yeah, I have Paramounts, and I've had Losmandy mounts, and I've had access to APs. And when you work in the telescope industry, it kind of just, you get access to things like that. But yeah. I think it's important for people to understand too is, I'm sure it'll go through people's heads when they watch this is, oh, well, of course you have a plane wave and an AP, and of course it just works. But that's not actually how it works, because astronomy isn't one of those hobbies that you just throw money at and suddenly it works. You have to have basic understanding of how, not even basic when you're talking remote, because especially in Chile, there's no room to screw up at that point because no one's there to fix it. So it's important where you practice in your backyard, and eventually, if you at one point maybe you will have the ability to have a remote system, which is awesome. We have one too. But it's important that you do take the time in your backyard and play with it. Especially if you don't have a remote system. Let's say you're just going to a star party, like really hone your craft in the backyard and play with it, and then go out and do the big projects. So
yeah, so that's a great point, and I kind of want to emphasize that because it took us 6 months to onboard the telescope with a mount down in Chile, and there's a team of people, right? We have a shared observatory. So we did have a lot of help, but it was a different set of challenges, but it was still challenges, right? And the key there that I think, and I really want to emphasize, is it's all about problem solving, right? There's a problem, try to figure out what it is, kind of hunt it down, eliminate the variables. It's exactly the same that we do in our driveway. And all the stuff that I learned in terms of guiding and setting back focus. And I mean, it seems like really simple,
plug and play.
So I want to say like dumb stuff, but like, sort of beginner stuff. And it really isn't. It's all exactly the same stuff, that whether you're working on this $250,000 system, or if you're working on, the $500, Skywatcher Adventure or something.
You still
like
have
that.
to factor in everything.
It's all the same stuff, right? So it's part of that learning path, right? It's a very learning centric kind of hobby.
Yeah. So if you're just watching, we get this a lot where, hey, my mount's not working, blah, 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 blah. Problem solving is a huge part of astro imaging, and we get a lot of questions, and we're here to support you. No issue there, but it will require time on your end to make those problem solving questions. So check the power, check the USB. There's a million things that can go wrong, especially in these systems where you're running multiple softwares and company products that all have to mesh together.
And everybody's system is different. Every single system can be different. So you really, as we're trying to troubleshoot and try to figure out what the problem could be, we're not there able to look and see what everything is, if everything's correct. So it can be a little tricky and challenging, that's for sure.
Especially with all the softwares that are out there now. We have a lot of people that will write to us. They're like, oh, I'm having issue with this software. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. There's Nina, there's Stellarium, there's EQ Mod for us, there's SkyX, there's Prism, and they all work in their own unique way. So if you have software, don't call the telescope company, because they probably don't know, just because it's not our software. So it's hard to know how it's going to mesh with everything. So
yeah.
I'll have to talk to you more about your remote setup. I didn't realize that was yours, like you're part of it. So I've seen it. It looks cool, but I have to talk to you more about that. So what I think is really cool about the current Losmandy mounts, and I remember when, Tanya, you were there when you guys unveiled, I think it was NEAF a couple years ago. I don't know if Brian was officially part of the team yet, but where you actually have the ability to upgrade your mount by simply getting an adapter and putting it on a larger right ascension piece.
So the modular mounts did come out right when I started here, which was 5 years ago. And they did come out. We released it at NEAF. You are correct. Yes. And so basically we're unique in that system, that the modular system where you can take your GM8, grow it to a GM8 11, make it a G11, then to a G11T. So it was fun being part of it. And and it's doing very well so far. A lot more people are starting to catch on. They're like, oh, I want to buy the deck, and now I want to buy the RA. It's starting to seems like everybody's starting to, buy the pieces now so they can make different modular mounts.
Right. So, conceptually, just to be clear, right? So there's a component that we put between the RA axis and the deck axis, and allows you to separate them, right? So you can
the RA extension kit.
It's called the RA extension kit, right? And that is sort of the basis of the modular mounts. But so there's a couple benefits to that, right? There's you can separate them for travel, because the mounts mounts can be kind of heavy,
They are.
And sometimes what I'll do, if I'm really lazy, which is often, I'll leave my counterweights on, like the counterweight shaft and the position of the counterweights, and I will just sort of pull up the whole deck axis, because I can do that and just put it down. And then when I go back to reassemble it, I can just kind of put it all back together and not have to worry about balancing it. You just put a little tape on the telescope and so forth. So, that's one benefit. The other, as we mentioned, is it kind of creates a little bit of additional spacing so that you can get more distance shooting across the meridian before you have to do a meridian flip. So that's nice. And as Tanya was talking about, we sort of now design these axes in such a way that you can swap out one axis at a time. So you can go from like a G11 axis to a G11T axis for more weight capacity. You can swap out the G8 deck axis for a G11 deck axis. So a lot of folks who are starting out and just don't have a lot of money, maybe want to start with a simple one, or maybe have just a small telescope, they can start with that and know that they only have to buy pieces of it as opposed to a completely brand new mount.
Right. Great. Yeah. Great explanation.
I remember when that came out and it like blew my mind. It's like, how has no one done this before? Like that's such a great idea where it's just, because our designs the way we do, it's like, oh, you need a bigger mount. You just need a bigger mount.
Right, right.
Where you guys, it's kind of ingenious where it's just, oh, well, just buy the larger right ascension and just done.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that's awesome. So
Scott's come out with some great ideas. I mean, there's been a couple things that haven't been so great, but that's part of the process. So
yeah, they're not. We have rooms of stuff at Skywatcher that weren't winners, so
yes, exactly.
So it happens. But
can't be great at everything.
We get this question a lot, so I don't know if you guys have approached it or thought about approaching it, but on the modern day mounts, the demand for through mount cabling and built-in hubs and stuff like that has come up. Have you guys thought about doing something like that, or is it something that you've kind of navigated around? Or
it's a good question, and we actually I think we talked about this on a podcast episode. So Losmandy has a podcast. It's called Live from Burbank.
Yes.
You can see it on YouTube. But so we have looked at that. We don't do it currently. We don't do either of those currently. I mean, we sort of like the notion of through the mount cabling for like the motor cables. And it makes sense. And I think we're just trying to figure out the best way to do that because, we have things like the RA extension where you can sort of separate them out. We need to sort of think through that and make sure that it's going to work correctly. Mm-hmm. The USB stuff, I'm not so much a fan of, honestly, because I have seen I'm like everybody else, right? So I'm on cloudy nights and lots of other places. And I have just seen a lot of issues where people, if the USB cable stops working or there's interference or the hub goes down, I mean, you're kind of SOL. I mean, you're straight up just like a lot of, I hear like, return it to the manufacturer. And I'm thinking like, I'm going to return my mount to the manufacturer and be down for weeks or months for a USB cable. Like not a huge fan of that.
I mean, like Scott has said, nothing is off the table with him. He will always think and try to grow the mountain stuff. But as of right now, we feel like we're okay with the non through the mount cabling.
Yeah, because we on our EQ8 that we have out now, this is our hub board.
Nice.
But yeah, that's the thing that sucks about it is the more fun stuff you pack into it, it's just the more moving parts you've got. So if this doesn't work, we have to fix that. And not that it's a common issue all the time, but it's just what I've always, it does happen, especially with electronics. It's just, what I really have always admired about the Losmandy mounts, and I tell people this all the time, we recommend Losmandy all the time. We get people who are like, I'm looking for something like this. It's like, well, you'd probably want to go here then. And you guys always take care of them. But what I think is cool, probably better than any other mount on the market, is yours has the concept of like an old car where it's like, hey, I need to fix this or I want to do this. Boom, there it is. You get the part, you do it, and it's done. Where, a lot of us and, these really high-end imaging mounts, it's kind of like, great, I've got my Acura Ferrari at this point. I need that particular screw, and it's got to go back to the manufacturer to do work on it. So you guys have a cool workflow where it really makes it easy to, you guys just stick to your guns about what your products are good at. So
I mean, so I think there's two parts to that. Right? One is kind of like it is built that basically if somebody wants to be able to take it apart and fiddle with it, or we have some people customizing it, I mean, they can absolutely do that. The second part, which I would say is probably equally valuable, is we have a very vibrant customer community in our user groups who have people who have done this, right? And offer tons of advice. We have some people, we have some third-party sort of modders and repairers throughout the world who offer excellent support for that kind of stuff. I mean, we will sort of explain how the mount works and things, but if you're going to sort of drill new holes and try a new go-to system and put it in there, there's only so much that we can do because we're not familiar with that type of system. Mm-hmm. So, we appreciate what people do, and there's a great way the mount enables you to do it, and there's a bunch of people who have done it. Whatever you're thinking about, chances are someone's done it before, and that's a great way to get some knowledge there.
Mm-hmm.
And I know going back to the USB thing, there's so many good options now for cable management. Pegasus has their power boxes. You have like the Eagles from Prima Luce. We have one of those. There's so many good options now to where you don't really have to incorporate USB into your mount at this point, or a whole hub system, because it's easy to just add it when you need to do it yourself. And then
as technology grows, if it needs to be replaced, you just replace that box instead of having to replace the entire mount.
And I'm sure Brian's well aware USBs are just the most finicky freaking cables on Earth at this point. So
yeah, I've heard that as a horror show. Probably you do too. I'm a little bit more direct, but I mean, look, what people want, which is to have simplified cable management. We all agree on, right? I mean, I'm sure Kevin, I'm sure you agree with that, right? We love that idea, and we have to balance it with the reliability that comes from a piece of fairly sophisticated machining and electronics that you leave outside all day long and all night long. You don't imagine taking your high-end Mac and putting it outside 4, 5, 6 months a year. I mean, it's not the same, right? So absolutely, I agree. And I love the Pegasus PowerBox stuff. They have a bunch of different versions, right? I mean, I use those all the time. Fortunately, the Losmandy Gemini, which is our go-to system, the astronomical computer, has also Ethernet, which I think is a huge win for connectivity and keeping things simple. But, as you pointed out, it's a great idea, and every approach, whether you have it built into the mount or you do it separately, has some pros and cons to it,
Especially with, and I don't mean to hang up on the USB thing for a while, it just keeps popping up, especially with like 3.0 now, where everyone's like, great, it has 3.0. Well, 3.0, you can run like 3 feet before the power supply, it's like, there's not enough here to send the signal. So, and then of course you have now they have USB-C or whatever the new one is, and all these different types. So the minute you put a USB into something, there's a new one out. And
yeah, what was that? Show me that board again. Is that a Skywatcher board?
Yeah, this is on our EQ8 board. I'm gonna hide some of our proprietary stuff on there. So
I didn't actually take a picture.
That's all right. So I'm sure someone has bought one and taken it apart, and there you go. So that's how it works. So, well, yeah, no, I think it's cool that you guys have implemented a lot of neat things. And I know I've talked to Scott before at trade shows where, like the universal dovetail plates, where the thought is just put more holes in it. So, and
it'll eventually line up with one of some of the rings or whatever.
I call it the Swiss cheese plate because it's just,
a good explanation for it.
Yeah, we recommend them all the time. So you should get a shirt made that just says, Swiss cheese plate, and it has just the black and white diagram of it.
You start the Swiss cheese plate. I'm going to start the patch sash, the Astro Patches sash. So
we'll do a cheese plate on top of the universal plate. So after COVID and after everyone's not disgusting and stuff like that. So, but no, so we recommend the DUP plates all the time because they match everything. So
pretty much, yeah. If you have that, I mean, if a lot of people have multiple telescopes, it's going to fit on all of those if you need it. You can just take.
I think I have like 6 of them laying around, 7 and 14s, and if you need a universal plate, just get a Losmandy DUP 14, and don't ask what it'll fit because it'll pretty much fit anything. So one plate to rule them all. So
Tanya, the Losmandy D plate is in fact kind of the industry standard. It's one of the two, but I mean, it's kind of like
it is the standard in the industry, and that is Losmandy. Scott did invent that. He invented that standard. So another
so it's sort of it's the D plate, right? I mean, and lots of people sell versions of them now, but it is a certain thickness and width and all that they should be interchangeable.
Right. Most mounts now, which I think all of your mounts are V and D series. Most of them are all dual saddle, so you can either use it with the V series.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah. So
That's where the D came from on
That's
the D
right,
plate.
Mr. Losmandy. I don't know why it's called D. I don't know how it used to be. Like I think it used to be called a Losmandy style plate, and then everybody came out with V series and D series. Yeah.
Yeah, the D stands for Swiss cheese.
Why is it not the L series? Losmandy.
Right? Yeah. Why isn't it called the L series?
The S. I don't know.
Yeah.
Scott is.
I don't know how it came out. I don't even know if Scott actually standardized that word D series. Maybe it was just somebody in the industry. Who knows?
Yep.
Goes back to before my time.
That's all right.
In the astronomy world.
So I know we have some more. Let me see here.
Should we try to scare up Scott?
Yeah, I want to try it. What time is it?
It's 10:36.
Do you want me to try to go see if I can get him?
If he can, I know he's there. So
he's way in the back.
Oh, is he like super far back there?
Way back. Like I would have
to go get him. Do you want me to
go
get him, or you want to go get him?
Why don't you guys talk more astro imaging stuff? Maybe I'll go grab him. Okay.
Cool.
I think it'll be much more interesting.
Okay. But don't take your.
I know. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, don't walk off and be connected to the computer.
Right.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Just so.
Yeah, get some snap on the screen.
So, is there anything from Losmandy that product-wise that you find is surprising that people don't know product-wise, or something that you think more people should know about?
Well, there's one thing that comes up quite a bit as a surprise to me, and so we're known for the G11 mount, and that is kind of like our flagship mount. It's the weight capacity, I think, is 60 pounds imaging and 75 pounds visual, and it's actually 60 pounds. It's not like 50%, and it doesn't include the counterweight, right? So, it's kind of like when you think about Losmandy, people basically think about the G11, but we have the G8, which is the it's identically machined. It's not the same size, but you look at them and you say, like, these are clearly brothers or sisters to each other. And then we have the GM811, which is the G11 RA axis with the bigger worm gear and the more precise tracking and everything. And then it has the G8 deck. And while the weight capacity is slightly lower, the real magic, as comes in the RA axis, right? And the tracking and the the low periodic error and everything that's in there. And I'm just really surprised that more people don't know of the G8, which is super portable, and the GM811, which is just a great, less expensive. I think about it as a great, lesser expensive version than the G11. So those are really, really nice options to have. And again, with this notion of the extension kit, you can always upgrade it later without swapping everything out.
Yeah, and then if you have a G11 and you want to go bigger, you have the Titan Right Ascension, which is big. And you guys don't make the Titan itself anymore, but
yeah, so for the moment we have, basically it's not that we stopped making it. It's just there's such demand for, and you guys, I know this, but just such demand for kind of entry to mid-level mounts that we are, we're already weeks back ordered, and it's everything we can do just to try to meet the demand of the G11 and the the GM811 and so forth. Mm-hmm. But we do have the G11T. And that is the Titan RA axis, because again, that's the magic, right? That's where all the good stuff happens. So it has the Titan worm wheel, and it has the Titan, all the mechanics. It weighs, I don't even know what it weighs. It must weigh like 480 pounds or some crazy number like that. What is it?
The weight of it is 45 pounds.
45 pounds. So it's huge, right? And but it's the G11 deck, right? So it's kind of like the GM811, but it's one step up. And I actually bought one of those for a big 12-inch RC tube. It was a big stainless RC tube, and that thing pretty much crushed all my vertebrae. But it worked, and worked really, really well. Thank God for carbon fiber nowadays. Yeah. What? Earthquake? I don't think so. Tanya thinks we had an earthquake.
Oh, yeah.
Shaking. I saw this moving too. Okay, so
it is moving.
Guess what?
Is he going to join? Okay, cool. So
Yay!
yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. Scott is still a very, very hands-on person. When he's at the office, he is still working. He's machining. I mean, that's what he really loves to do. He's assembling the mounts. So to come onto a podcast, I really have to beg him because he's like, no, I need to work. I need to work. And so, but
I got things to do. So.
That's right. Yeah. He's still, I mean, he's working every day back in the shop. So
yes, here's his 3 priorities, right? Work at the shop, give us dirty looks, and then come on podcast.
That's pretty much the way it is. But I did ask him if he would come on. He said, sure. I probably will just move over to this section.
Yeah, that's
Is that
fine.
what I should do and have Scott sit here. Okay.
I mean, we might want to switch the chairs though, if you want to do that.
Oh, okay.
Only because his head's going to be like way up. Yeah, way up there.
We had him on, but again, it was only, you never see his face. So.
Oh, that'd be funny. Just like see his mouth. Oh my God.
Oh, here he is. Woohoo. Yay, Scott. Thank you so much.
Don't bang any cameras on the way over here.
Okay, we're gonna do some
switch
switching. Okay, everybody says sorry.
Tanya is actually she's petite, and so we have this rather tall chair.
It's my throne.
Is that what you want to call it? Oh, and look, we have a 4th special guest here.
Do you remember Scruffy, Kevin?
It's been a while.
Scruffy's on too. Losmandy crew besides all the CNC guys in the back.
Do you want to? So
Hi,
this
everybody.
This is Scruffy. You have to sort of hold it up above the. We have a laptop there. See, Scott, if you see, that's how we look. So you have to sort of hold. Yeah, there you go.
There's
This is
Scruffy,
our shop cat.
Oh, Scruff.
of course, in matching Losmandy black. So.
Yes.
Yes.
Only way we get them.
There you go. So thanks for coming on. I know you're busy and you've got better things to do than sit here and chat with us about things. But we were supposed to have Alan Hale on today, and I know you got a big boost from when you were working with them. I was curious if you could kind of take us through that early era of Losmandy.
How far back?
Or how you started it, and then of course you met up with Celestron and it kind of went off from there. So
Yeah, I started doing mounts back in 80.
I'm just trying to make sure we can see You're okay. You're okay.
86. And
Yeah, just there. Just do that.
Yeah,
Do that.
Can we go like this?
No.
And
Well, I mean, you could.
I did it. There you go. That's better.
Robert Proven and Brad Wallace, who really helped me in the early days testing the mounts and everything. Then that went, and that was going pretty well. And then there was a guy named Jim Riffle who worked for Celestron at the time doing all their R&D and everything. He bought one of the mounts, and he contacted Celestron and said, you have to take this mount. You have to get him to make mounts for you. And so that's how that whole thing started out. And so we made mounts with Celestron from 92 to 97.
nice. That's the GM11, I think is what that was called. So.
Yeah. And so then I think when Tasco took them over at that time, and that's when they started to make the mounts themselves. Then we broke off on our own.
Now, did you make the GM8 for Celestron also?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it was a G9.
It was called, that's what I thought. It was called a G9 for Celestron, but now the G9 is our version, or is the Celestron version of a GM8.
Right. So it used to be the G9 Celestron, and then we became a Losmandy product and became the G8.
No, it was a GM8, and then they took that over.
Oh, okay.
They said we have to give it a different number, so it's not the same as what you have.
Oh, I got you.
They went up one.
Now you know. So
Now we know the story behind the G9.
Yeah, it's kind of like 10 or 11.
yeah, got to crank it up to 11.
11.
Well, that's it's called a G11 because it paired with
the C11 at first, and then we increased the bearing size inside the mount, and then they put it with the 14-inch.
So there was no G14.
Well, they named it G14, but it was never actually put on the product.
So if you have a G9, that's the history of the G9. So I've had people ask before, we're like, oh, is a GM8, G9? It's like, they're the same thing, pretty much. So.
Imagine, by the way, imagine my surprise coming to support. I'm like, oh, it's the same. Oh, okay.
I know Brian's like, I'm getting questions about a G9. And I'm like, it's the same thing. Yeah. So.
And then you made some early mounts. They're rare, but there's the GM100, 200, and the 300, which is like
there's a
really
300?
rare.
There's two of those.
Made. Oh, I didn't even know this.
Two of those. Wow.
One went to JPL. The other one is, I think, now in Canada.
Yeah, there's a club that owns one that I've seen. So.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
They have like a 12-inch Newtonian on it. It still looks small. So.
Yeah.
Big.
That's neat how you know where they go.
The thing was way too big to make, so after a couple of them, it was like, forget it.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see a picture of one. I've never learned
I'll
something new every day.
dig one up. I think I know where that post is. I'll have to find it and send it to you guys.
I would love to see that.
I know we're like more off our own podcast here.
It's like a light blue color or something like that, but it's big. So
beautiful.
So this is the time where we generally open up Q&A. So if you're watching and you have questions, I know there's like 40 something of you floating out there. I know there's one question right now. Either Scott, Tanya, or Brian. Is the GM8G usable at the equator at 0-degree latitude, including not having counterweights? Oh, okay. Can you use it at 0-degree latitude without the counterweights hitting anything?
You'd have to rotate it so it's not over the leg.
Could you use the pier extension?
Yes.
Oh, you can do that too.
Yeah. That's what Brian does. He uses a pier extension on his G11 to get it to raise up so it doesn't hit.
Right, but I think Scott's point is, normally where you configure the counterweight bar, one of the three tripod legs is immediately beneath it. But you don't actually have to do that. You can actually take your tripod and rotate it by one sort of connection and have everything exactly the same. So we're just talking about just a sort of a minor.
So there's two different options. The pier, yeah. So okay, yeah. I did not know that. Yes. Thank you.
That's good from 0 to 67, 68.
That goes for all three of the mount. Well, the GM8, the GM811, and the G11 current version of the go-to mounts is 0 to 67 degrees. The G11T is a different degrees. So
there you go.
You're so tall.
I got this thrown.
Scott, Scott's like the tallest guy here by far, and look, he looks like the smallest guy.
It's all that Hollywood magic trickery. One thing, if you guys have never been to the Hollywood General Machining shop, it's like a museum half the time. Like the ceiling in there is all copper, like the Western style stuff. Obviously everything in the back, those are all Quasars and forgot the other one's name, unfortunately, but Quantums. But Scott, you've always been interested. We've had this conversation, but you've always been interested in kind of collecting the vintage things. And can you kind of iterate on, is it just going back and appreciating stuff of another era at that point, or what starts that for you? So.
Is this on telescopes or on just all the other stuff I collect too?
Just
I know you've got a ton of stuff, but we'll just keep it to telescopes.
Do you collect a certain thing, I think is what he's asking, or is it a certain era?
It's mainly mechanical. I like things that are mechanical. And, I think the Quantums were just a neat thing because it's a break off of the Questar people. And Unitrons, I have a few Unitrons. They're just where the mount that when you were growing up, when you looked at it in sky and telescope, you just drooled over, even though they're probably absolutely useless to use, but gorgeous to look at. So, and I think that's mainly the reason, is for the mechanics behind them all.
Yeah. I know you being a machinist and stuff, you look at the Quasars and stuff like that, and you can appreciate how that was engineered and came around. So it's kind of like an art piece in a way. So
Exactly.
Jeff Simon, my boss, for those of you who don't know him, what are some of the Hollywood projects that you've worked on? Jeff wants to know. So.
You know more than I do on it.
I know. A lot of times, okay, when you go into like Hollywood projects, a lot of times you'll say, what is this going? Where is this going? And sometimes they have to be a little bit quiet about it. So you're not always able to know until 3 years later. But some of the things that I can say now that we have worked on, we've done Mission Impossible movies. We did The Lion King with Jon Favreau in the animated one. We did the Mulan Disney movie that was done down in Austria. Girl on the Train, which I mentioned earlier. I mean, the list goes on. And this is just, that's the portaglides that I'm talking about, but we also make jib arms and dollies. Actually, The Lion King was done on our dollies. But the jib arms, those are also done in the studios and really popular right now since the pandemic. Everybody had to go to a very, very small setting. So the porta jib arms became extremely popular this past year. So
sweet.
But lots of Hollywood sets. Scott was in a movie though.
Which one? Was it a cameo?
He really was in a movie. No, it wasn't a cameo. What movie was it, Scott?
The Great Skycopter Rescue.
I
1979.
think it's in that drawer right there.
Really? Did you play the Skycopter or?
No, I was just a person at the drive-in, not movie drive-in food place.
Yeah.
And there was a motorcycle gang that came into town and I get beaten up.
You got beat up in it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know
You were
that.
beat up customer number 3.
And I actually had a speaking part too.
I really want to see this now. The video is here, but what is it on? VHS?
Yeah.
It's on VHS, so I'd have to find a VHS tape player. So I'm sure there's one out there somewhere.
Good machine one. So
can we talk, by the way, can we talk about our new friend who's going to be joining us later next month?
Yeah, if you guys want to talk about your, I know there's a couple questions, but if you want to talk about your webcast real quick, go ahead.
We're having a gentleman that works at JPL, which Scott just mentioned. A lot of guys at JPL buy our mounts.
For personal use.
For personal use, yeah, just for personal use. And one of the guys, we do curbside pickup, and we've had a lot of those lately. He came over, and his name is Jeremy, and he's a cameraman in the Hollywood. He's a union guy, and but he's very, very, very much into space and astronomy, and that's why he was buying one of our mounts. He is the cameraman for the helicopter Ingenious on Mars.
Ingenuity. Yeah.
Ingenuity. So he will be on our podcast next, talking about being the cameraman on Ingenuity. Yes.
Yeah. The
How cool.
Mars
yeah.
drone, right?
So that's pretty. He agreed to do it, and we're so excited.
And where can people check out your podcast, webcast? Is that on YouTube?
Yes, it's on our YouTube channel, the Losmandy YouTube channel.
Yeah, so that's youtube.com/Losmandy. It's very simple.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check that out. They've got a bunch of cool stuff up there too. I'll have to go watch that one as well.
Yeah, next month.
Couple questions from the audience. Which Losmandy rings do you recommend that can accommodate 2 optical tube sizes? Our ED80 and the 102 Mac. Both of those have probably about 100 millimeter, 105 millimeter OD. What rings would work?
108s.
You could probably squeeze it. No,
Yeah.
I've had a ED80 and a 108 set, so I know that'll work. So there you go. If you need to order them, call Tanya and talk to them.
Or go online to our online store. We also have an online store, DVR 108.
Yes.
The part
Yeah.
number.
Yes. By the way, that's a classic Scott answer, just like 108.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
it. That's all you get.
I'm sorry, wait. 108.
Every time I call there, it's like I need to talk to Scott, and it's just like usually everyone else I call, it's like, hey, how you doing? And you call Scott, and he's like, hey. It's just like
He's like
Scott. Wait, how do you answer the phone? How do you say it? Scott. 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 Scott's a great guy. He's fun to work for. Especially when you get him like talking and stuff in his elements. He's a lot of fun.
Are we entertaining or just digging ourselves into a hole?
Yes.
Probably a little bit of both.
both. What is the highest capacity mount for AP that you guys have?
Mr. Astro Imager over there?
Well, that would be the Titan.
G11T.
Well, it'd be the Titan, right? I mean, of the ones that we are making right now, actively manufacturing is the G11T. And that is 75 pounds imaging. And that's just for the instrument. That doesn't include the counterweights. And it is actually 75 pounds, not 50% or 75% or some other, I've heard some of those equations.
Right.
And then I think it's like 90-pound visual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it carries.
Scott's numbers are conservative, I would say. But
yeah,
I've seen, we've actually seen, wait, what was that picture that we saw like a C14 on a GM8?
Oh my God.
I think it was like a C14 or a C11.
We've had a couple people with C14s on a G8 and we're like, don't do this.
But they do, and they were getting amazing images. Yeah. It was insane. So
I've had a C14 on a G11 and it works. It's just, it feels like it's too much, but a GM8 would freak me out.
Don't recommend that.
Yeah, we don't recommend it, but it is your mount. So.
And your tube and your money. Does Losmandy sell G11 with stepper motors?
Not anymore.
Yeah.
They're just the servo ones now, right?
Yes.
Now you can't. So something I just wanted to point it out, which we actually just had this discussion about, because the stepper motor, the digital drive system is a push to, right? So the idea is that it's very simple. You just kind of move it and point it at things, and then it will just keep tracking. So although we don't make the digital drive system anymore, you can slightly loosen our clutches on the Gemini, the go-to system, and use it like a push to, right? Yeah. So although we don't make that version anymore, you still can sort of effectively have that with a Gemini system and get sort of a go-to system to boot.
Correct. Yeah. The go-to system, you don't have to use the go-to system. Like you said, you can loosen up and Scott just told me about this because we get a couple calls still about the stepper motor version. And we don't, but if they are looking for a stepper motor version, I mean, it's for something.
You can't mumble on them. No. Everybody hears that.
Okay. So yes, so you can use it as a push and track. You don't have to use the go-to. And then if you actually advance into other reasons, you already have the go-to system. It's already there. So you can just move over to and use the go-to.
Yeah, you just don't have to do the alignment. You can just let it track.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Cool. Well, we're running out of time. Thank you guys for spending the morning with us, and thanks Scott for making your appearance. Now you can go
Thank you.
back into your comfortable
Thanks for
world.
having us.
Real quick, for people who are watching, we're gonna have end of June, so this is a couple months out at this point, but we have to do an episode that's going to be pre-recorded due to time zone differences, but we are going to be have Brother Guy on. He is the head of the Vatican Observatory, like globally head of the Vatican Observatory.
That'll be a good one to watch.
And he's going to do it live from the Vatican in Italy. So we have to pre-record this. This is for the last Friday of June. So if you have questions for him, write to us at support@skywatchusa.com because we will have to pre-record that episode. It will not be live. So just as a heads up. And then, of course, if you want to watch the Losmandy webcast, they got their JPL guy coming on for the helicopter. It's going to be awesome. Check out their webcast. And hope you guys have a good weekend. Thank you, all three of you, for being here this morning. And
pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll catch up with you guys soon. So
okay.
All right,
well,
guys.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.
See ya. So that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you very much for everyone joining us today. And we will catch up with you guys next Friday for the What's Up webcast. Thank you very much. Have a great day and take care.
That's good that people had questions for you, Spot.
Mm-hmm.
I